Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're going to do something a little bit different today. You see, I recently took part in the Darktide closed beta, and this is a game I've been waiting for a long time. I love the Vermintide series and always kind of wanted something for the 40k universe, as, well, you know, shooter games. These are always really fun. So who better than Fatshark to do this, as they've already got a lot of experience with Warhammer. There are a lot of devoted Warhammer fans within that company. So, yeah. With all that being said, this is a closed beta, so there will be some bugs and stuff like that, which I will talk about, but keep in mind that the game releases in about a month and a half at the time of releasing this video, so those things will be hopefully ironed out by then. Usually on this last stretch of development is when they start doing optimization. Anyways, with all that being said, we're going to jump into the game right now. We're going to talk about all the different features and what's so good / bad about it, if there's any, and then we're going to check out a full match. There's going to be a lot to talk about, so this might be a fairly long video. So what you've noticed at the very beginning is that you have your own characters and you can create them. This isn't like Vermintide where you've got the Ubersreich 5, this is a player insert, and I think that's really cool. You've got access to 4 different classes, which is the Veteran Sharpshooter, then you've got the Zealot Preacher, the Psyker Psychonetic, and finally you've got an Ogryn Skullbreaker. There are actually a few different subclasses apparently, but we were not able to see that here in the closed beta. You've got 4 baselines, which then allows you to customize and go from there as much as you want. All these different classes are very different. If you're used to Vermintide, then you're already kind of used to the system where each class and each person has their own system, their own abilities, all that different type of stuff, and I think that works out quite well. But when you go into the classes, you can actually see what their abilities are, what unique weapons they have, auras, all this different type of stuff, which I think is absolutely great. This means that you can play around with your loadouts and you can decide, oh, I want to be more tanky or I want to be better at shooting. You've got the options. You definitely have the options, and it allows you to have some really fun teams, because the best thing about this, and we're going to talk about this more in detail later, is that you could have 4 sharpshooters if you want to. It's definitely not the most viable, but if you want to have it, it's a great system. And yeah, I mean, that means that if you have a specific class that you do like, and your friend also likes that too, as this game is very heavily focused on cooperative play, yeah, this is great. This is honestly really cool. I've been able to play with friends and I've been able to do 4 sharpshooter loadout builds if we so wanted to. As that at the moment seems to be my favorite class, at least for the time being. You never know in the future when subclasses come into effect, or new items, or when I try out the others a bit heavier. Anyways, as you start progressing into the character creator, you can actually have a lot of roleplay ability here. You can choose your planet, as you've been able to see. You can then go into some heavier details, like just your childhood, all this type of stuff, growing up, defining moments. I think this is absolutely amazing because it brings you in as a player insert. Obviously, it's all based on Warhammer lore, but it's freaking awesome. I was absolutely blown away by this because it brings it more into, you kind of feel more for your character because you created that character yourself, going in through loads and loads of details around their life. If you've played something like, say, for example, Mountain Blade Bannerlord, in a very similar sense, however, it doesn't really affect your stats, it's just some backstory. And while I understand that that might not be the most important thing for a lot of players, Warhammer fans kind of will appreciate this more because it's very similar to like creating your own custom chapter for 40k, or your own, you know, Tau, Homeworld, Sept World, anything that you want. It's just the idea of making it a little bit more personal. The fact that you can just really go into the character, like, you know, choosing its face, choosing its eye color. It's a lot of stuff which is just like pre-done, so you don't really have like, say, Skyrim levels of just playing around with the ear locations and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is super cool. And again, this might not matter too much to people because you probably won't be seeing your character that much, barring when you're changing around your cosmetic gear or, you know, just hanging out in the hub a little bit, because in most cases you're going to be in first person mode. But hey, it's a nice touch, and adding this just, again, feels personal.
I've dreamed many dreams before, but never like this.
I should have known the enforcers would not tolerate me forever.
It seems that no matter how low I set my expectations, it can always get worse.
And as you've heard, you can even choose your voice. Yeah, there's not a lot of options, but again, This will help out when you get into missions and so on, where your characters will be saying stuff randomly, so you can just feel a bit more attached to the character a little bit, which I think is great. Anyways, after you've created your character, you jump in straight into the tutorial. This is regardless of how many characters you've created. You can have 5 slots, and yeah, so far it's literally just been straight into tutorial. I really hope that they just give us a skip function in the future when the game gets properly released, as yeah, even though the classes are different, it's very much the same buttons, so it doesn't feel like you need to do this over and over. There's 2 tutorials. The basic one is the one that's forced, and then the advanced one you can skip. The great thing also is that if you do feel that you need them, you can go back in your hub that we'll talk about in a little bit and be able to just restart the tutorial if you so wish. But the tutorial is very basic, you know, just do some attacks, special attacks, how to do this, how to do that. Think once is enough, really, but it really teaches you how to play as your different classes and just give you a little bit of a push, especially since I will admit that I do sometimes forget certain abilities, like for example the special abilities, but yeah, you know, it's a good thing. It's very well laid out, and it's short too. It's not like it's a tutorial that's going to last like 20 minutes. It's like a 2 to 4 minute thing, and that's it. As soon as you finish the tutorial, you get thrown into your hub, and this is your main chill area. Essentially, you'll see other players around because everyone is around here. It's kind of got that MMO feeling to it, but you're not going to see that many players. It also depends on what time that you log on. This was quite early in the day, and yeah, I mean, it's absolutely stunning. It's a bit different to that of Vermintide, because obviously Vermintide was just that central hub where you and your teammates, if you were playing with anyone, would be, and there you could test out weapons and so on. So far, there's no facility to be able to test out weapons. It's just go around, buy items, and explore, but it's a bit small compared to that of the Vermintide one. Like, yes, this is bigger in terms of surface area, but there's a lot less to do, whereas you used to be able to, you know, put up trophies and test out all the different types of weapons that you got, test out some abilities, some combos. There's none of that here. Hopefully in the future there's more, because it looks like there's a lot of areas, like doors that are kind of closed off at the moment, so it would be nice if that's the future thing. Maybe it is, maybe they've already announced that, I've not seen anything like that, and obviously we have to keep in mind that this is a closed beta, so not everything is available, but it's absolutely stunning. I was walking around all the areas, and it's absolutely breathtaking. Now, when it comes to stores and stuff like that, I did notice some frame drops when in the stores trying to buy equipment. That's the only place that I really had some big major frame drops, barring some lag every now and then, and, well, you know, connectivity issues because you're connected to other players, that can cause that. It's just ping, really. And, well, maybe fire, but it was mostly in the store. That's where I felt lag. Everywhere else, it was perfectly fine, but it was noticeable. Anyways, with the stores, you know, you've got access to 2 different stores, and it's just to buy equipment. You get the money from actually, you know, doing missions and getting actual currency to be able to buy them. It's better equipment. It's not the only way to get equipment, so that's perfectly fine. But it does mean that if you don't get really lucky with the whole RNG aspect, you can buy some better equipment, especially with the weekly contract system, which has much better items. It's just like kind of, you know, it's like a daily quest. Well, weekly quest, but you know what I mean. It's simple enough to navigate, and it's not that hard to just go through and actually do. In fact, some of those missions seem quite easy. Anyways, the missions themselves are pretty simple. There's not a lot of them. It's mostly just the usual stuff that you can expect because it's closed beta, so they've only given access to a few of them with varying difficulties, and the maps themselves are actually pretty cool. We're going to get into one game now anyway, but yeah, you can see the difficulty system, you can see the threat level is basically how hard it's going to get. If it's just 1, it's going to be easy. If it's 2, it's medium. 3 is hard. 4 is very hard. And 5 is, oh my god, type of thing. You can solo queue, and that's perfectly fine. You'll get geared up with another group of people, sometimes even bots too, depending on how many players are active. And we'll get into all that detail in just a second. But I like the system. I can't wait to see more missions. Right now, like you can see, there's only 4 because you can see the artwork, right? I do wish there was more, but I understand that they're probably just optimizing all of them as they go. Right, we've talked enough about just all the basic stuff. Now we're actually going to jump into the game. And when it comes to this mission, I did not get the intro because I just had signed in and I got thrown into a team that had just started. Thankfully, this is the very start of the mission anyway, so nothing is lost there. So, teamwork is very important here. I feel like voice communication is very important. I don't see that there is any form of voice communication in-game, but that could have literally just been my settings, where being on Discord or whatever app that you do use and talking to people is definitely going to be better for you, because these missions are large, it's easy to get split up, you definitely need to be together or at least stay in a buddy system in groups of 2, as you will be stronger there. Now this mission itself, there are 3 sharpshooters and 1 psyker, which is definitely not the best loadout. I think the rest of them were quite early level too. Now, I was only around level 12, so it's not much, but mind you, I had better gear, and it's just very obvious. You can tell who is lower gear by the equipment that they're wearing. Like, for example, one of them is just basically in the starter rags. But as you can tell, the maps themselves are freaking gorgeous, right? Like, I'm not focusing on looking at the maps at the moment, but you can see all the scenery as we're going through, as obviously I'm trying to keep around my team so I don't get lost or anything. But yeah, so maps are cool, teamwork very, very important. It's very easy to get split up and then surrounded by a netter or a mutant or hell, even a dog, which is just going to pin you down and try to kill you, because you need to work as a team. And I know these teamwork games are not the most liked by people, but if you're used to games like obviously Vermintide or Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood, all these types of things, well, yeah, this is definitely going to be a game for you. I have been playing mostly as a sharpshooter. I really enjoy the sharpshooter. I've not had too much time with the other classes, but the sharpshooter, having the shovel is just fantastic because, well, you know, it's a Imperial God thing, Deathcore Krieg, but yeah, everything feels good. Like, I've not had a lot of bugs. The gameplay feels very, very fluid. I've been playing, 26 hours at the time of recording this video? Not obviously in one go, but I did do like an 11-hour stream, and it just feels really, really good. I must admit I do have a little bit of burnout, but that's obviously because 26 hours on the same 4 missions over and over again can lead to a little bit of burnout. But even then, I still want to play some more, and I really wish that we had the other maps open, but it makes sense not to, because that would basically give you 3 days to play the game fully, and that's it. Yeah, honestly, no problems. The maps are great, everything feels good. Now we're going to start talking about any bugs that I found, and we'll go from there, yeah? So, in terms of bugs, really there's not that much. I feel like fire can stop your frame rates, any big explosions regarding fire. That's what I felt and a few other people have felt. I've not had common issues, which I kind of felt were very usual in Vermintide. Like, for example, some stuff getting stuck in walls and stuff. Nothing like that, really. Sometimes when the enemies die in, say, for example, an elevator or a lift, depending where you're from, they will move. They will actually just, like, the body stays static but moves because the lift itself is just weird. The camera can get weird on a lift too, as it starts moving up or down, and your character's just kind of like bouncing a little bit. It's a very, very strange thing, but I think that's really the only issues that I've kind of dealt with. There is a lot of desync issues at the moment. That is a common thing. I've only really had them myself when it comes to being in the hub. I know some other players that I've been playing with have had it like desynced directly onto the when we're in the middle of a mission, but I've never had that myself. And what happens there is that they can rejoin. That's perfectly fine. Until then, you get access to a bot to help you out, and the bots are freaking stupid, but well, they're trying their best, but they're not great compared to a player being able to do stuff. So yeah, I've not had any crashes to desktop. Again, people have. I feel the connectivity issues is probably just because this is a stress test with this closed beta, and like there were 30,000 people to queue at one point on day one. So I imagine that the issues were there, that they might just not have had enough servers for the stress test, or they just wanted to see how much a server could actually handle, which some companies do that, and it's perfectly fair. But even then, the game feels incredibly good. Like, I'm playing on medium graphics settings. I can play on high, but I don't know, I just felt like this was better for me. And it's also the case of just like I'm playing on a 4K monitor, and 4K monitors can cause issues for games. But yeah, what you will notice, like blood and bodies will start moving when you're on an elevator, which is absolutely annoying. But obviously that can get fixed in the future. Well, not so much annoying, more so much a humorous thing. It's just kind of weird, but I don't see like usual issues that we had, like when Vermintide 2 released originally. There was seeming to be a lot of issues. Now this can change, keep this in mind, since this is in its beta form. New bugs can present itself at launch. Many people have seen games getting released, but in the early access period look near perfect, and yet, you know, day one patch and then everything starts breaking. This is a very common occurrence with video games, so really do hold your breath a little bit just in case. But if there's a dev that I do trust, especially given how good this has played so far, it's definitely Fatshark. Many of you have already been given the chance to play, and if you haven't, you've been seeing the footage from various different creators, streamers, all that different type of stuff. But yeah, it's feeling great. It's feeling great. I am absolutely enjoying this. I think there's a lot of potential for this to be an absolutely fantastic Warhammer game. And for those of you who know my channel, you know that I'm very skeptical because the curse of the Warhammer game does exist. But so far, it's looking very good here. Mind you, the curse itself is not usually on the game, but rather on the devs. But Fatshark have always proven themselves to be very, very competent and very respectful of the setting too. There's so much Warhammer here. Like, yes, it's a Warhammer game, but you want to see details, you want to see little throwbacks. Everything is here, even through the referencing where they talk about rattlings, say, for example. It's nice. It's an attention to detail where, yes, only Warhammer fans would probably understand, but it feels great. So far, it feels good. I will say that the game is much, much more fun if you're playing with friends rather than some randoms. Like, no shade to the players that I was playing with here, you know, Trekker, Calypso, and Thomas. They were pretty good, and it was an enjoyable experience overall, but I feel like this game is definitely a lot better when you're playing with your friends on Discord and just banter and screaming at each other. Like, I was streaming this a lot, and I was just screaming at my friends, fellow content creators, and it felt so much better because it felt like a game that you could easily play with a bunch of people and lose loads of hours onto it. Now, we haven't seen the full game, and that's going to be a while. I'm imagining they'll probably do early access periods around about next month before the launch, you know, the usual stuff, and that's where everyone will be able to see the game fully, and that would be awesome. I must say, on a personal note, I'm sick of Nurgle. But that's because, like, Warhammer devs for some reason really like Nurgle. It obviously makes a lot of sense given the setting, because you're in a hive world and all that type of stuff. So yeah, plagues and cultists. And you can tell that a big reason for that was to reuse some animations and rigs from Vermintide, which, no shame, completely no shame. It actually makes a lot of sense because, you know, the poxwalkers would fight very similar to the cultists, and the ones with like the heavy weapons, you know, like a great axe and stuff like that, would have the same basic animations and styles as that of the Chaos Warriors of Nurgle. It just makes a lot of sense. Plus, there's just so many different types of animations that are new that you really don't notice it unless you've just been playing a lot of Vermintide, or just the rigs in general. But again, nothing to actually shame them about, because it's a smart move that means that production could go quicker, and at the end of the day, it's the same type of warriors. I would love to see something in the future where we could see more enemies. This is something looking way into the future, but, you know, other chaos types, maybe, hell, even a Gene Stealer cult, because that obviously makes sense for a hive world. And I don't want to talk about that because obviously the game's not even out yet, but like, I could see this game lasting a long time. Like, Vermintide 2 was out for a while, and I could see this perhaps lasting longer because, I don't know, for some reason I like this more than Vermintide 2. I do. The Vermintide 2 thing is cool. It might come as a shock to you because obviously I do prefer Warhammer Fantasy over Warhammer 40k, but this just feels right, you know? It's not five heroes going out there, and like in Vermintide 2, they're named characters. You really don't have any feeling towards them. Like, they're not you. This is yourself. You are creating yourself, and you're playing with your friends who are themselves, and you guys are doing missions. You guys are prisoners who are trying to, you know, get a better deal, essentially. There's about a month and a half left for them to just iron out all the issues and just get the game out there, unless it gets delayed again, which I really, really doubt, considering that the game feels so good at the moment. I just can't wait to see what happens. I honestly can't wait. I am super excited for this. if anyone from Fat Shark is listening, you have done a really good job. Like, the fantasy bias in me is actually screaming because there's a 40k game that I like more than Warhammer Fantasy game. It's very odd. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this game in the comments below. I'm going to let the rest of the mission play out so you can hear the game a little bit, so you can just hear the sounds, hear the gunfire. I'm using an autogun here. There's a lasgun, there's loads of different weapons, but I just prefer the autogun because, you know, it's just better for spray and pray, and that's just my playstyle. Yeah, I'm a hectic guy. You've seen that throughout this clip. I'm just mostly just thrashing about with the shovel. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and let's start a bit of a discussion.
The soldier's true friend!
Chunks.
Pilot suggested cards and cheated her way to win.
Illegal.
There's the smelter. See? This was the right way.
You need ammo, soldier? That is... Mid-terminal! Out of ammo! Grenade, dear! It is killing to see the place so... Watch! Learn! Repeat! Got it!
And let's get this smelter running.
Kill on the big unit!
We've got an assault through.
Take the ammo!
Empty. Reloading.
Seat's dead!
Anyone isn't enough. Find the others. There are more demonic growths.
Take it off, soldier! Reload it!
You've got one more to destroy.
We must drive them out! Conway was dead! To heal!
You're almost there.
Get healed and get back in the war, soldier! Smaller!
Getting hot. Let's get out of here.